Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Gamera Roundtable. As always, you're joined by me, Mulder, otherwise known as Faye, and
I'm here once again.
And Crash here, per usual.
today we will be discussing the 1966 film Gamera vs. Barugon, which was directed by Shigeo Tanaka. And is the only time in the Showa Gamera era, I guess you would call it, where it wasn't directed by Noriaki Yuasa. The only movie not directed by him, which is pretty interesting. So anyways, let's start this off. What would you guys rate Gamera vs. Barugon out of 10? Whoever wants to go first.
It's kind of hard for me. What did I rate Gamera? 5 out of 10?
Yeah.
Maybe 5.5 out of 10.
Wow, Crash. Really harsh.
It'll be elaborated on, I swear.
Ton.
It could say 6 out of 10 for me.
Wow, we're back to those days where I'm the one giving the highest rating again. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. I agree it has flaws, but I don't think it bothers me as much as it bothers you guys, which is fair. I think this is one of those movies where you'll either love it or just find it boring, personally. But yeah.
I was going to say, I think there's something I think we'll talk about it more that I'll appreciate about this movie than, I guess, stuff coming ahead, I imagine, but we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm. So, as always, let's start by saying, what do you guys think of Shigeo Tanaka's direction here? Though before I open up, I will say there's actually something kind of funny here with this. Basically, after Gamera, the giant monster was an unexpected success for Daiei. Daiei was like, okay, for our next movie, we're going to make it really adult and mature. So they replaced Noriaki Yuasa, which I think is kind of a dick move. And they were like, and they brought on Shigeo Tanaka, who, like I said, was more known for his crime films than anything else. And that backfired on them, box office wise, as I told you guys.
Yeah. His direction is a lot more serious, a lot more, I guess you could say, Godzilla-esque, like more character focused, and a lot more serious too. And that's something I can definitely appreciate. The scope of this one feels a lot more professional. I guess obviously done by someone who's done movies before, like crime movies, but still, like more experience in filmmaking. And I think it shows here. This one feels a lot more competent than the original one, and looks more professional overall. So I'd say his direction was pretty good.
Son.
Yeah, I say overall, Shigeo Tanaka's direction was really strong in this movie. You can really feel kind of the more experience coming into play. He very much gives it a very different feel, right off the bat. But I think he very much did his research or whatever, because it feels a lot more like a Godzilla movie than Gamera did. The giant monster, for the record.
Yeah, for me, I feel like Crash said and like you said, Ton, this one feels a lot more competent and like self-assured to me. Like, to me, it looks a lot nicer. The shots are better. I will say part of it probably because of the fact that this film has a bigger budget. But still, though, even like the human stuff, I feel like it's more dynamic. It's more interesting. At least shot-wise. We'll get into the pacing and stuff in a second. So, yeah. I guess, Crash, do you want to unload on your issues with the film before we get into the specifics?
I feel like people would hate me for this. Are there big Gamera versus Barugon fans out there?
I mean, yeah, I feel like this was probably one of the more well-liked Showa films.
True. I always feel like I'm being mean. I swear I don't hate this movie. But for me, this movie just felt really boring. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. The characters are absolutely stronger than the original one. But I think the pacing is just so slow. And there's just so much like dead space and air in this movie that it really brings it down, for me at least, a lot. It just feels really, really boring. Along with that, Gamera is kind of like second fiddle in this movie. It's more of a Barugon movie, honestly.
Yeah.
And if this was a movie like about him, like starring him, I think that'd be better, I guess. Being of like the potion and everything, they make it seem like Gamera's gonna fight this guy. But really it's just about the humans trying to deal with Barugon, and then Gamera shows up sometimes and gets bodied.
See, the funniest thing to me, no, I'll save it for the mantra stuff. But like in terms of the pacing, I feel like the big issue that the movie runs into for me is I think the first hour, ironically before the kaiju stuff really starts, is really compelling and interesting to me. Like the crime element and then the
Yeah.
adventure element when they go into the jungle to try to find what they think is the opal. That stuff I think is really fun. But after Barugon shows up, it slows to a crawl because so much of it is spent trying to stop him with plans that keep failing. And so you cut them doing the plan that fails, cut back to them in like a base or whatever, talking it out. They try another one, cut back, etc., etc.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's one thing with like the last one and this one too. To like they have a plan to like stop the monster, then it fails, and they're like, damn, back to the drawing board, and they just come up with another plan. It
Yeah,
feels very like redundant. I don't know what the word is.
yeah.
Repetitive. They
It
just
kind
kind of doing the
of,
same thing.
to make a weird comparison, and this episode actually we finally dropping soon. Spoiler alert. It kind of reminds me of an issue that I had with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, where the movie feels like too much of okay, we have to use this monster to stop this monster, but instead it's we have to use this plan to stop the monster. It failed. Okay, new plan. Keep going, keep going.
Yeah, but at least that movie was just fucking nuts and just really weird. It was like all the time travel and shit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, here it's.
And I will say, unlike Gamera the Giant Monster, which I felt is a lot shorter because it's only an hour and 18 versus an hour 40,
Yeah.
and a lot more fun to make fun of.
That's a part of it too. Like more stuff to riff on.
Yeah, because this movie's very serious, which isn't a bad thing.
That's the thing. Like, I don't dislike the serious tone. I like it a lot. Like I said, it feels more in line with the more like Godzilla movies. I'm not being like Gamera needs to be more like Godzilla. Like I like it to have its own identity, but I think like taking itself seriously more and having a more like grounded cast, I think makes it a lot more engaging. And that's stuff I like to see. But like that's really all is that this movie has going for it, I think, and it's not.
See, I think it's funny. I feel like I'd like it more if there was no kaiju in it. It's this thing.
I mean, honestly, yeah, the treasure story is pretty compelling at first, and I mean, I'm sure they probably could have done something if there were no. I mean, obviously, it was made as a kaiju movie, but it feels like the kaiju play like a second fiddle in a way. Like they're very separate, besides the opal being the egg, and it's more.
And there's the thing, I like Barugon as a kaiju, which we'll get into more. It's just that he doesn't gel well, ironically, with the movie going on around him. It's kind of funny. But anyways, Ton, do you have any thoughts on what me and Crash are saying?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I think it's kind of interesting when you kind of look at. Maybe this is a bit unfair, but all I can really do is compare it to the show of Godzilla's. Is like where Invasion of the Astro Monster really kind of captured that that alien invasion movie feeling. And then you had for Godzilla versus Ebro, which really kind of worked in that James Bond feel and really mixed it together. I feel like Gamera versus Barugon kind of has like kind of a similar issue to Giant Monster, honestly, where it's like it kind of feels like two movies show together. Like you have this kind of dark, gritty, crime movie, but then that kind of just disappears in the second half to focus on typical kaiju movie flair. And I think while it does do it a little better, that kind of ends up disrupting the pacing because it almost feels like towards the second half they had to like resolve the first part story, and then they're like, "Oh wait, but we still gotta have Gamera and Barugon have a big fight." So make it
I don't think it's you off. I think the most ridiculous part of it to me is like, I mean, I guess you can kind of say this with some other Godzilla films, like the ones coming up. I guess you could say like King Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, how the assassins are so dead set on killing the princess, but that to me still fits more. Like for me, the big moment that's like, okay, they're trying to force these two movies together is when the main bad guy tries to steal the diamond.
Oh yeah, he like all this shit's going down. He's like, "Oh wait, they have a diamond? What?" And he just like shoves himself in there and fucking dies. It's so like, dude, you don't have any other priorities right now. It feels weird. Like he got away with the first one, and I could believe that. But like him being like, "Oh, a diamond too." It's so kind of like, dude, come on.
Like for me, something about the way Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster blends the assassins going after the princess with the King Ghidorah plot works better for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, same here.
Same. I agree.
I found myself kind of wondering at certain points, like, how the hell is Onodera gonna just show up while they're doing this plot to fight Barugon, and literally he just kind of magically appears, sneaking past like army soldiers, killing two of them.
I know, right? He just like speedboats there and just makes it without getting cut.
I know, it's hilarious. The JSTF in this movie suck at their jobs.
Yeah. It just really kind of stretched my suspension of disbelief.
And like, to me, finding out that they tried to make this more adult, well, it works in some regards. On other regards, it's like, then why is there so much silly stuff in this movie? To a degree, like for example, the fact that the JSDF randomly have all this super high tech stuff is so funny to me. Like, they have like Rain making helicopters and stuff, and it's like, where did this come from? I know they had the convenient a space shuttle to Mars, but like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just very amusing.
They even had like that whole like military rocket base to shoot Barugon with. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that violates some treaties.
But yeah, I guess that's a good lead in to talk about specifics. Do we want to talk about the monsters first or the humans first?
I think we can do the humans first.
Okay. Well, because we already started talking about him, I guess we can start with the main villain, who is Onodera. I think he's a really fun villain at first, but I think he overstays his welcome, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because like it's kind of like you're saying, like once you go to the kaiju stuff, he just kind of like takes a back seat for the most part, and isn't really like. I feel he just kind of becomes irrelevant. I feel for the most part, while the main characters are kind of trying to find him, I guess. But it's really not as important until he just shows up again at the end of the night.
Yeah.
But when he does start off, though, I think he's interesting. You know, he's got the shades. He's all like suspicious, but like cool or whatever. And so they're working together and stuff. And the way he portrays them, you're like, damn, like I hate this guy, but in a good way. So I think he starts off very interesting.
See, like to me, I would have just had him die with the main character's brother.
In the fire or in the kid?
When they're fighting.
Oh yeah.
I would have just had them either like both get trapped under there and then killed by Barugon, or I would have just had them do like what happened in Mothra versus Godzilla. Remember the two businessmen when they like?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're fighting. It's pretty bloody there. I remember. Yeah, that could have been pretty good. I think.
I think they just have him last too long, and he doesn't really end up adding anything. I guess
that's the thing. Yeah, because his presence in the final battle it's just to kill him off, really.
Yeah.
Because he shows up, gets a diamond, and dies.
And they're like, "Oh, damn! Now we're doomed."
Yeah.
Time to go make another plan, which also fails.
Yeah, he's just an asshole.
But yeah, Ton, what did you think?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's like he starts that really strong introduction where you see him betraying the others, and he's even heavily involved with Barugon's intro and how he comes to attack, but then he just kind of disappears. And like you said, I liked how it kind of left off with him maybe like dying with Harada's brother, but then that lady just shows up and frees him, and it's just like, why?
It's just so funny. But yeah, speaking of, I guess we can talk about the main character of the movie, who was played by Kojiro Hongo as Keisuke Harada. Funny story here, when I was reading on the behind the scenes stuff to know so I don't say anything wrong. The funny thing is he didn't want to do the movie at first because he didn't want to be typecast as like a giant monster movie actor. But then he found out that it was being done by Shigeo Tanaka, and he was like, okay, I'll do it. This should not be like stupid shit.
Oh, it's really funny.
That's pretty funny.
He's pretty good. I like how his lesson here is to not be greedy, I guess, and to his arc is a little weird to me. I'm not gonna lie, not a lot, but a little weird. I like how they flesh him out, admittedly, but I feel like he's also a little bit generic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of the kaiju hero of like, damn, I'm just trying to like make it in this world of monsters.
Yeah.
And dealing with his own problems, I guess, while also kind of being involved with the monsters in a way. Like trying to help out. I mean, yeah, he's better than Toshio. So like Like, can you like any of the main cast in the original? Can you remember? So like, yeah, while he's pretty boring, I would definitely say it's a step up.
Yeah,
At the very least, even if he's kind of generic.
and he has some good scenes. Like I like his talks with Karen, who we'll get into in a second. I also like the bit where when one of their comrades are sent on dies and he's sad about it. That's the most I've ever seen a kaiju character react to somebody dying, I think.
Definitely, I'm hip. Yeah,
in one of these
it's
movies.
nice to see that.
Like this guy's actually disturbed by the fact that this dude just fucking dropped it in front of him from a scorpion sting.
I know he's pretty like torn up about it. It was pretty good, and he sells it very well.
Yeah, so I'll give him props for that. Ton.
Yeah, I think Hirata is kind of flat as a character. Like definitely not bad, like way better than Toshio. But I think the kind of issues, a lot of his plot kind of focuses on kind of being a redemption arc for his crimes of helping steal the opal. But the thing, I guess the kind of challenge is he never really starts off as all that bad.
That is true.
Because like the only reason he went to take the opal was because his brother found it, and he was even prepared to like not take it when he heard the warnings about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he does have some nice scenes with Karen and Kojiro Hongo does a really good job acting, so he keeps you invested. So
yeah. All right, I guess we'll move to the female lead with the funniest name, Kyoko Inami as Karen. I mean, I think I'll use her to get into a segment I can't believe we've had to do for Gamera, but I guess we have to bring it back.
Iconic.
The racism scale, and as we've kind of assigned to you, I'll let you get into it.
All right, so we gotta dust this thing off after Kong. We really hit a doozy with Gamera versus Barugon. We're at probably a level category 5 racism.
Damn.
So for context, in the beginning of the movie, they go to the island of New Guinea, to find the opal that Hirata's brother, a World War II veteran, found during the war and hid in a cave. And while they're in New Guinea, they run into the natives. Now, the natives of New Guinea in real life are the Papuan people. And Papuans are Melanesians who are, I hope I pronounced that right, who are basically dark-skinned Asian people, for lack of a better term, kind of look like black people. So naturally, this movie casted a bunch of Japanese actors and put them in blackface.
Besides for Karen.
Karen. The character who becomes a main character.
She's the only one who looks entirely Japanese.
I wonder if she was like, no, I don't want to put the paint on because I'm a main character. Honestly, because it kind of stands out. It's like trying to choose like who's the main character in an anime. Like you look at their hair, it's like okay, yeah.
That's what it is.
It's so
the only one who's not covered in I'm not gonna say like Toho's stuff was great with it all the time, but it was never as noticeably bad as this.
Yeah, because
go ahead.
Yeah, because Toho usually choose like fictional islands, and while the actors look tan, you could at least kind of interpret them as like, like just tribal Asian people.
Yeah, like undeterminate, like just tribal people, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, blackface isn't like excusable, but it's better than I guess than trying to represent a real population in just like a disrespectful way.
Yeah, definitely.
And so they're all they're all portrayed as really simple, besides for the one that can speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Who's named Karen too?
Yeah,
which is pretty funny.
the very Papuan name of Karen.
Yeah, it's just very kind of weird.
And her Japanese adoptive father, in a sense.
Yeah,
it's very odd to me. That's all I'll say. Oh my god, Crash. And I will say, at least Karen's kind of shown respect to a degree, and they end up being right. It's just still they come off kind of noble savagey in a sense.
Yeah, Definitely. It's
Mhm.
very kind of old pulp adventure tropes.
And they're also all barely wearing anything as typical. But
Yeah.
basically, gamers had 2 movies in a row where we've had to burst out the racism scale, which is kind of funny.
Iconic.
But yeah, Karen's all right. I feel like she's not an interesting female lead because all she does is like follow around
Like, does
Harada.
like the only reason she's there is kind of be like, "Hey, you dumbass, that opal you stole from my culture, that's a fucking dinosaur monster, man." Like, I feel like besides that, she just kind of tags along for the
Yeah,
adventure.
like she's basically just an exposition machine more than a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Karen's kind of flat. Like, she's not the worst female character, but definitely there's been better, especially in the Showa era.
Yeah. And then the other characters, really, if anyone wants to say any thoughts, because besides those 3, you just have their comrade who died, who I actually think is probably one of the most enjoyable characters. It's a shame he died so quickly, but
I know,
makes
yeah.
sense for the
He had a lot of
role.
personality.
And
Yeah.
the brother's pretty fun too, but he also doesn't get much before he
hmm
dies.
Just shout out to the brothers' amazing acting during that fight scene. Where him and Onodera just freaking brawl while he has a
Yeah,
cane. That was a great fight scene.
It was pretty
it's so
funny.
fucking bro when Onodera beats the shit out of his wife.
Yeah. So fucking whack.
Kicks her across the room. It was so bad. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, man.
he fucking knocks her out,
Mm-hmm.
which is nuts. But yeah, besides that, I feel like the cast, it's not the worst, especially compared to Gamera the Giant Monster. Oh. And I'll give them props that they tried to flesh them out, but I wouldn't call them among the best of the Showa era. Like including
Yeah,
everything if that makes sense.
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely not. Just passable,
Mhm.
serviceable.
And I guess that brings us to the monster stuff before we get into some other things. And I have to say, Gamera's barely in this movie. He was
Yeah,
saying trash.
this should be Barugon versus Gamera, honestly. Is that how you say his name? Barugon?
Barugon is
Barugon. Yeah.
how I say it. But
It's not Baragon, it's Barugon.
yeah, which we'll get to in a second. But
Because, yeah, like Gamera has like no presence in this movie, honestly.
yeah.
Because like it's okay. The movie starts off hilarious. I was like, "How's he gonna get out of this?"
Oh
You know, same as
yeah.
last movie.
What you asked, you're like, oh wow, I'm so curious how he's gonna get out of this one. Is he gonna be in space?
He's fucking hit like an asteroid, just fucking blows up, and he's
Oh,
just free.
and he
I
flies
like,
back to Earth.
maybe he chooses to come back to Earth, and that's why I was like, "Damn!" I bring back like the asshole like meters. Like, damn, what an asshole! He came back just to fuck up Earth again after they banished him. Which I mean, to be fair, they did banish him, but I don't think that is a cause for destroying civilization. But
And like the funniest thing to me is in this movie, he feels like just like a nuisance. Like he's not like a threat even
I was gonna
before
say, first thing he
Barugon.
does is he does immediately take another
This
world tour. He
yeah.
vacations again, checks out the sites. Like I was like at this point, he's like, I think he just wants to like get a feel for the cultures, check him out. Because like he does that, doesn't seem to be destroying anything in those pictures. It looks like he's just chilling.
Yeah.
And then that's when I forget he does do an assault. I think right. No.
Oh yeah. In his first scene of 3, he come back to Earth and he destroys a dam for no real reason, and
Just an
then he pieces
asshole.
out. Yeah.
And then leaves. Yeah. And then next time we see him is when Barugon hatches, right?
Yeah. When he first shows up and uses his rainbow, and the rainbow attracts Gamera because Gamera eats heat or whatever.
And then they fight, and then gets his ass kicked, and then he's just
Yeah,
out.
Barugon fucking freezes him.
I'm heavy.
Which, by the way, I think we know what happened to Toshio. Toshio saw it on TV and
So
immediately
killed
jumped.
himself.
Yeah, he just jumped. He was
My-
done with life.
There goes my hero. Like, it's kind of funny. The fight scene's pretty funny, I think. Because are we talking about monsters now?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that shows how complex the humans are. But yeah, Barugon is. Oh wait, can I talk about both of them? I guess doesn't.
I
Really...
mean, yeah, sure. I'll
Okay.
get into myself to Barugon in a bit, but
Okay, yeah.
but it's not like Gamera's in this movie that much.
Just because I say Gamera, there's not too much. He has the same exact power set as before.
Yeah, same suit too. They keep the same suit for Gamera.
Yeah, so pretty identical. I mean, everything I said for the last episode applies in like my general feelings towards him. He's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but Yeah, he gets pretty bad in this movie because Barugon, which is pretty hilarious as a monster, I don't know what he's supposed to be. He's just kind of like
He's like he's like a lizard monster. They say.
yeah, like lizard creature kaiju, and his
He
powers.
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say his powers are really funny. Like they're the last thing I would have expected from him. Like he has like a rainbow he can
Yeah.
emit. He's got freezing breath from his tongue.
Yeah.
Like he fucking okay, his tongue is the wackest thing ever. I love it. Just sticks out and sprays like from his tongue. It's so gross. And he uses that to freeze stuff. But the way his tongue comes out is so funny. It's just like someone's like pushing a stick through it. And the tongue just it's so weird looking. But yeah, Barugon is an interesting monster, I guess. His power set's really unique, and I think that's what makes him stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he has a big presence in this movie. He's in this movie
Yeah.
more than Gamera is, and he's
Way
honestly the main
more.
threat. Like
Yeah.
this is a Barugon movie with a cameo from Gamera. Because
Yeah.
honestly, because Gamera
Though-
gets
Mhm.
oh
Go
sorry,
ahead.
so Gamera gets destroyed pretty early on, and then it's just
Yeah.
Barugon terrorizing the town.
Though Gamera does get some good hits on Barugon. Like I really do like the bit in their first fight where Barugon thinks like Gamera's frozen and done for. Then Gamera just fucking like jabs a finger in his face and
Yeah,
blood
that's true. The blue
pours
blood.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene was great. It was so brutal.
Yeah, you're starting to see that Gamera movies are a lot more bloody than the Godzilla ones tended to be
Mhm.
at this
Yeah.
point.
There was no mandate from Yuji Tsuburaya.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
No blood.
yeah. You're right because that was Subarai's mandate, which they kept until he passed away, which is funny. But yeah, but Barugon, I actually really like him as a monster. I really like his concept. His power set is wild, like you said, but it kind of makes him fun to me. I
Yeah, I was gonna
just,
say he's fun.
I just wish the
yeah.
movie integrated him better.
Definitely. Because he's very,
Mhm.
like you said, he just. I wish they did more with him because he just kind of terrorizes. They try to like stop him, then fail.
Yeah.
Then like, well, back to the drawing board.
And he only gets to destroy one city, basically.
Why couldn't he destroy 2 cities? Come on, he's a kaiju. He's got to destroy them.
I mean, I guess he kind of destroyed two, but they don't show a bunch of Kobe get destroyed besides the port, I feel like.
Yeah.
At least Osaka they show get frozen to shit, which is really funny. But yeah. Ton, do you have any thoughts on Gamera or Barugon you want to share?
Yeah, like you said, there's not much to say about Gamera. He's barely in this movie. He does get some really good moments, I think, like the claw attack. And I will say his suit looks really nice in color. We only saw it in black and white before. So seeing it in color, it looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Barugon's probably the standout in this. I actually really like the design. It's kind of like a weird mix of like, like a iguana and then like a bunch of other different lizards.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of looks like a cool retro dinosaur.
Yeah.
And I really love his wild powers, like the ice breath and the rainbow back. It's so weird, but it makes him so unique. So he's just super charming. Too much into future Gamera stuff. Barugon's probably the one show a Gamera monster I would want to come back the most because he seems like a really cool kaiju you could reinvent in modern day times.
Yeah, he's actually the one I want to see come back the most too, because he hasn't come back. Spoilers crashed there, but
No. Yeah. That's kind of sad. Because I mean, I guess I'm like I wish his design was a little more interesting to me, but I think his power set makes up for a lot of that. Because he's just
Yeah.
weird. His tongue spitting freeze, and his rainbow power. What does his rainbow do? It just like
fries stuff. It works like any other like beam in these movies.
but it's just like a
Yeah.
rainbow that comes out of his back. I love it.
It's I love how many memes it's made. Like there used to be so many Barugon memes with like taste the rainbow, bitch. Like,
That's authentic.
yeah. But yeah, does anyone have anything else they want to say about the monsters, or should we move on to the scenes of the movie? Because I think this one finally has scenes actually.
Finally. Yeah, it's just I think Barugon's pretty interesting. If he's never come back, like you said, I believe you. I would like to see him come back. I guess I know you're lying to me. If I think it'd be cool to come back. I love when they bring back old monsters. So if they ever do, I'd like to see him again.
Yeah. Ton, do you have anything else you want to say about the monsters, or are you good?
I think I'm good. Once again, another solid job. I think the monsters are probably the strongest part about these movies.
Yeah, same. I find enough. I think it's rare, even in general, to find the monsters the issue for movies like these.
Yeah, definitely.
Besides for Giant Claw, poor Giant Claw.
Or
But even then, that was design wise, not like idea. But anyways,
Mhm.
all right. I feel like this movie has two big themes. I'll start with the smaller one. One of them is pretty. This one you see a lot in like crime movies in general, but especially Japanese crime movies, is to not be greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Because like this all started because of everyone's greed to get the money of the opal without thinking about the cost of it. I mean, even
Yeah.
if I would own a Derek killing people for money.
I'm him. Even willing to let Barugon terrorize the earth more just to get a diamond.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
hilarious.
I'd say it's a strong theme they have here that is prevalent throughout the movie. They plan it well enough, so
Hmm.
I think it's done well here. It's not like an afterthought, no like moral like of the day kind of
Yeah.
thing like we've seen before in some Showa films. So I mean, yeah, simple, but I think they do it well here.
Ton.
Yeah, it's always kind of interesting to me how these 1960s Japanese films, in an era when Japan was really becoming kind of the business capital of Asia.
Hmm.
It's just cool how much greed and like fears about greed and being overly consumptive was really common in these films, especially the genre film. Like, I definitely need to watch more Japanese film to see what kind of like the more drama type stuff would be saying about it. But
Uh-huh.
it really kind of reflects kind of the changing times, I feel.
Yeah. And I think it kind of reflects because you even see that over in Showa Godzilla with stuff like King Kong versus Godzilla and Matra versus Godzilla, like having those similar themes of don't be greedy with your capitalism.
Hmm.
In
Mhm.
a sense. Though here it's less capitalism, where it's just stop stealing shit, which I think goes into it because I think, oddly enough, for as racist elements of this film are, I think there's an interesting theme of how natives are taken advantage of and how there's stuff stolen from them.
Mhm. It's one of those things where it's like it's it's kind of like at odds with its portrayal of them, but
Yeah,
it's definitely like a theme that's I think it's prevalent there mainly through
yeah,
Karen kind of
yeah,
getting the neck for it
yeah,
generally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think it's played as hard, but it is
yeah.
there.
Like I don't think it's as prevalent as say Matra versus Godzilla, but I think it's there, especially because of like you said, like Karen. I think Karen really embodies that.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because the main character's like, "Fuck Japan, I'm going back to Papua New Guinea, and I'm staying there."
I'm hip, yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, I'll go with you too." Going back home, I guess.
Yeah, because he's like, "I'm taking you home, and I'm not coming back here,"
I'm just gonna live with you guys now.
which is just really funny to me to imagine.
Yeah. How will he acclimate?
But yeah, Ton, do you have any thoughts on that message?
Yeah, definitely. There's kind of a interesting element in kind of exploring exploitation of natives because I guess kind of a big thing to consider is the fact that this movie actually references World War II.
Oh yeah,
And
we didn't even mention that.
Mhm.
Hmm?
Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, explicit like World War II mention,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
go ahead, Ton.
like war 20 years ago.
no,
Yeah.
go
So,
ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say because it's kind of rare to see Japanese movies of this time mention the places they occupied.
Yeah, so that showed kind of a big shift in kind of the more seriousness of this movie's theme. Like, definitely the war. Like, it's not like the war wasn't ever mentioned at all in any of these movies, but it's
Yeah,
definitely the most direct. You'll kind of see it and just kind of
yeah, because they just like are flat out like, oh yeah, back when I was in New Guinea in the war, I buried this opal for later,
mhm.
and even stuff like them pretending that they're like on there pretending that he was there to bring back his friend's bones and stuff.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's an interesting exploration of kind of how their
Hmm.
societies kind of get exploited, but I also feel like also get kind of idealized.
Yeah.
Because you notice a lot with movies that kind of explore like indigenous cultures and stuff. They kind of get put on a pedestal almost, like James
Mhm.
Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah.
There's other ones. It'll come to me, but just kind of how they're exploited and attacked, and then how they're kind of more better than our decadent
Yeah.
society.
Yeah, because he pretty much flat out says that at one point.
Mhm.
Harada. He was like, "Oh, back on your island, there's nobody killing people for money," or something along those lines. And I think it's kind of interesting, but at the same point, it does kind of lean into that noble savage kind of idea of them that I mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of this not to say that like native cultures aren't necessarily good to live in or anything. Just that there's this kind of a romantic fantasy people have of them, which is
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny because we're talking about a Japanese movie here, and I think in terms of cultures, the best comparison now is how much Japan is idolized like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh man, I wish I was Japanese. And so,
Well, as we saw, this is gonna fucking date this episode with the fucking girl who pretended she was Japanese.
oh,
Lulu.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's not like something that's gone away. It's just shifted into a
Place
different.
Japan.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the place Japan meme exactly. It's that kind of thing because I feel like at this time and for a while there was this kind of glamorization that bordered on like fetishization of native cultures and like the simple life. I
Definitely.
think because as technology became more and more of a thing, and like I feel like the big culture shift was after World War II, and I think people were kind of struggling with that, and I think that's why you see this like native worship, because you even kind of see a little bit of the fact that veterans of the war were left behind because Harada's brother is a World War II veteran, like we were saying, and he has a war injury that makes him have to limp, and like he's obviously not doing great money wise if he's looking to go
Yeah,
back and steal the opal. So there's kind of a message of the World War II veterans being left behind in a sense
definitely.
in Japan. But yeah, anyone have anything else they want to add on the themes or no?
I don't really have much else to add to it.
Okay, ton.
Yeah, I think we covered the biggest ones.
Yeah, those are the only two which I spotted. There might be more, obviously.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, what else is there to Gamera versus Barugon? Oh, there was one thing I did forget to mention about Barugon. He is not Barugon, which is very funny.
Yeah.
It's I don't get how they made the name so similar only a year after Frankenstein versus Barugon came out. It's very odd to me.
Do you
It's
think it was production? I mean, what is Baragon's name based after? If
um uh
anything?
I forget what Barugon's name
'Cause
is
it's
based
a
after.
lot of these monsters we've noticed, or it's kind of funny. They're like just in Japan, they're just like the Japanese, just like the literal name for that. Like
Okay,
nothing
okay.
serious.
I looked real quick. Baragon's name came from the Aboriginal word for crocodile ancestor and dragon, Baru and Gon.
So I imagine they might have just had that same kind of inspiration because some of the names, they sound cool, I guess, in like exotic in English, but like in
Mhm.
Japanese, they're just the literal like name for that. Like we talked about that, like Ankylos,
Yeah,
is just like Ankylosaurus in
yeah,
Japanese,
yeah,
which is or like Rodan in Japan is like Radon, which is like Japanese
yeah,
word for like Pteranodon.
yeah. Because Pteranodon in Japanese is just Pterodon or something like that, and they
Yeah,
just
so they just took the last 5 layers. That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. So like, it's kind of like not the most creative. So maybe they both just had that same inspiration. It was just a coincidence.
Well, it's like Gamera. Gamera's name is basically
It's
just
turtle. Yeah,
it's really just turtle with a letter switched out.
yeah. That's the funny thing about it. So maybe they just
Yeah,
had that inspiration, but who
yeah.
knows?
Well, at least Barugon kind of had a cool name for it from what I'm reading. I'm really curious what Barugon's name came from. I'm gonna have to cover that in our Halloween special. Tune
Ooh,
in for that little sneak peek there. But anyways, So yeah, I find that really funny, especially because in the dub of this movie, they fly out Cole and Barugon at points.
They mistake me. People are like, is this from the same Godzilla series? Barugon? Frankenstein monster? Is he mutated?
Oh my god, it's hilarious to me.
It's pretty funny.
The Mr. Dinosaur 3000 episode for this movie is really funny too. Though of course they do it on the
I've heard
dub.
about them. Yeah. They do like it. That's a big part of like the Western history for Gamera, right?
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else with Gamera versus Barugon we want to cover, or are we good? Because if not, I will get into a tangent about the Western history of Gamera.
I mean, to be honest, like I said, not much. I don't think there's much more to talk about.
Yeah, I think we did cover the whole movie.
Oh, there is one thing I did want to give them props for. The score by let me see who did the score. Oh, good. Never. Okay, I found it. By Chuji Kaneshita is so much better than the score last time because it actually is pretty like memorable. Like it seems successful in my head.
Oh, definitely. I really love the soundtrack here.
Also, because of a bigger budget, the special effects look good finally.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like last time with Gamera next to the boat, and he looks nowhere near as big as he should be.
Yeah.
Those were the only two things I wanted to shout out. If you guys want to talk about those at all before I get into my tangent, I'll give you an opportunity.
Not much else, I guess. At least I don't think so.
All right, and then we'll do our wrap up later. Ton, did you have anything you want to say, or are you good?
I'm good.
All right, time for tangent time because I'm going to get into the weird history of Gamera overseas. So basically, initially, the first time to bring Gamera overseas was Gamera the Invincible, where they spelled Gamera's name with 2 M's for some reason, and they tried to do it like how they did it with 54, where they edited Raven Burr and stuff, where they edited in American actors. But that movie was a big flop, so they were like, "Fuck this, we're not doing any more of these."
Damn, like a Godzilla King of the Monster style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, pretty much no one really cared about Gamera because of that. So all the Showa films got bought up by AIP, American International Pictures, for TV release. And it was on TV that they got a lot of attention for the really funny dubs that were done by Sandy Frank. And those dubs are what Mission 2000 used. And they're infamously bad. Like, they're hilarious.
Like, comically just, stupid.
Yeah. Like, lots of really weird dubbing choices and stuff. So that's why Gamera got an even worse reputation than Godzilla in the West, which I don't think is entirely gone, if that makes sense.
For Gamera?
Yeah, even with the what was I gonna say? Oh, even with the Heisei trilogy, I feel like to a lot of people, Gamera's still a Godzilla ripoff, if that makes sense. I'm not sure, Ton, if you disagree.
I feel like if anything, it's probably. Sorry, you can continue, Ton. I'll say after you.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I kind of feel like he's like, if not outright a ripoff, he's just kind of considered like Godzilla's little brother. If not like just, if not like people just see Gamera and think he's one of Godzilla's monsters from the show.
Oh yeah, because that is something too. Because like the concept arc in the monsters with Gamera in it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
go ahead, Crash.
I feel if anything, a big part is just the fact that Gamera has not really had any releases to get into the modern cultural.
Yeah, that too, I think doesn't help either.
And I mean, I to be honest, like I said, I'd never really heard of Gamera much before this, honestly, and I feel that might just be a part of it. He just has not gotten as many releases.
Yeah,
and he has a really good trilogy, I've heard, but it's like that's it, I suppose.
Yeah, and mostly how the Millennium one is because people love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I just have never seen it, so I can't say if it's good or not. And neither has Ton. But I do agree with Jason as part of it because I feel like Godzilla's reputation was improved so much by Godzilla 2014.
Yeah, just like more serious, less comical, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like after 2014, people started considering Godzilla like badass rather than like Like I feel like before
Comical.
that, yeah, it was very like, oh, Godzilla's so stupid, Godzilla's so silly. And while I don't think Gamera has it quite that bad in every circle, I do think a lot of people, like Ton said, either think he's a Godzilla monster by mistake, or think of him as like the lesser Godzilla,
Yeah.
which isn't exactly right, but what can you do?
hmm
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'll leave this up to you, Faye. Is it too early to talk about the concept trailer that floated around for?
Did I send that to you, Crash?
Yeah, you did. I saw that before. It's pretty
Oh yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Nothing ever came of that.
So go ahead, Ton.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about Gamers. Right? I do remember that trailer floating around for a while among kaiju circles, and people were really anticipating it.
Yeah, that is such a weird story. I'm not sure if I want to. I'm
We
so
could-
torn. I'm so torn on if I want to tell that now
I think
because
we
I
should save
feel.
that.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna say
probably
talking
save it.
about that for now, Tone, just because like I think Crash kind of is getting what else the point is. I think that's tied so much into the Heisei and Millennium stuff
Yeah,
and like
so
that
we'll
whole
get to that.
story. I'll save that. I'll talk about
Mhm.
that when we do the Millennium film because that is a wild story. What happened with that? But yeah. But anyways, in terms of stuff we can talk about now, Crash, I'm going to show you the poster for our next movie and the
Oh boy.
and not the trailer, the name of the next Gamma movie we'll be covering next week. Gamma versus Gauss.
It's not, I was trying to stop myself from saying not Rodan.
I mean, they do look similar, but Gauss is a reptile bat.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got more like webbed wings, and his spikes,
Yeah.
his head spikes are more sharp. Interesting. Gauss? How do you say it?
Gauss, yeah, you got
Gauss.
it.
Gauss.
And this Crash is Gamma's arch enemy.
Really?
Yeah,
His
this is
arch enemy?
who's considered like Gamma's King Ghidorah.
There's so many jokes
I don't know.
could make, but they're all spoilers. So
I didn't know what I expected from Gauss or from Gamera's arch enemy,
Mhm.
but it probably wasn't this. So I can't wait to see it.
Well, a big reason why it's that is because the next movie was the most successful Gamma movie ever.
So like, fuck it. People like Gauss. Make more Gauss movies.
Pretty much, in a sense. I'm excited for next time
Me too.
because this is the Showa era's potential last shot to get a good one in. Because I realized something. The longest stretch of where you didn't like the movies Crash was the Minion trilogy, in a way. And that was 3 movies long. We might be going on a longer stretch than that.
Are you telling me Gamera's just gonna be suffering from Emolder?
Until Heisei, potentially.
Oh man, I can't wait. I hope
Crash
we have
is like, I warned you, Crash. I was like, the Showa era is going to be difficult.
Hopefully, we
for
can
these.
find some gems or riff material at least.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm hoping that we'll get a King Kong Lives out of this.
Yeah, definitely. I would love something like that. Guess we'll just have to see, but interesting. Hopefully, I like it.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's not that. I'll save it. I'll see how you feel about these. I'm just saying, looking at how these past 2 went,
You're not confident.
I'm not confident. Next one, I think, is one I like. I think it's good. So that's the last one I'm expecting anything from, possibly. But we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely.
Anyways, Crash, do you want to give your closing thoughts on Gamera versus Barugon?
It's definitely one I appreciate a lot. They went for a more serious tone, and I commend them for that. I think overall, though, it was still just kind of boring to me for the most part. Interesting stuff here, but again, it's like I don't know. I feel like there's more interesting kaiju movies to get into if you want to see one than this.
Yeah.
And so, unless you're like another big Gamera historian or you're like trying to learn more about the history, I don't know if I'd recommend this casually.
Yeah, that's fair. Ton?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Crash's assessment. Gamera versus Barugon is definitely Barugon. Sorry, it's a good step up from Gamera the Giant Monster. I think it was a good experiment to try and change up the franchise, but obviously that didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Do I recommend it? Not really, unless you're into show movies. So
hmm
check it out if you're into that. If not, watch Ace Gamera. I feel like I'm gonna be saying that a lot.
I feel like before I do my closing thoughts, I want to say I have to imagine how funny it is, like that kids wanted this movie expecting like Garen the Giant Monster and got this thing
Oh man.
with all its violence and darkness and super slow pacing, and it being an hour and 40 minutes.
That's hilarious. Yeah, honestly, they're like, I love the first Gamera. They get here, it's like a serious crime drama. First, they're like, what is this?
And then Gamera's barely in it.
That's the thing too. Then Gamera's just gone. They're like, that's why I came here.
Okay, well, actually, real quick before I close out. Okay, well, I guess for me, I'm the only one where this is probably like a debate, especially Crash. But to continue our trend of saying Let's Godzilla movie came out the same year as this. This year, Ibra, the Horror from the Deep, came out this year.
Dude, I love
Which
Ebra.
Which one would you prefer? I say as
Ebra.
Crash as that.
Ebra, believe it or not, Ebra was a fun movie at the very least.
Yeah,
And I
bro.
love my boy Ebra, the crustacean, the Koreanist crustacean.
Ton.
Yeah, I'd have to follow Crash Ever. A lot more fun of the movie.
Poor Barugon. Nobody loves you.
I like you, Barugon. I just don't like your movie that much.
See, the funniest thing is, I actually prefer Barugon slightly.
Of course you would, Mulder.
Wow, what's that implying?
Nothing, just more typical Ebra slander, but whatever. I'm used to it.
Okay, Crash. Okay. But yeah, for my closing thoughts on Gamera vs. Barugon, I'd say if you're invested in Gamera and want to see more of his history, I'd definitely recommend it. And if you really like the Showa stuff, I'd also recommend it. I'd just say be ready for something that's more of a crime drama than a kaiju movie. And don't come into it expecting a lot of Gamera, I'll say.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, this was Gamera vs. Barugon. Next week, we'll be covering Gamera vs. Gauss from 1967. Very fun. And we will see if we can win over Ton and Crash on Showa Gamera or not. Because next one's probably its last shot. Anyways, this has been the Gamera Roundtable. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.